Welcome back. This is Diaspora Weekly. My name is Jarmaine Nkrumah, and you can follow us on all our social media handle. And please, when you go there, like our pages, because we're all over the world. We're all over the continent. People watch us from Malawi, Sudan, everywhere. We are growing, and we want you to be a part of it. But today, I'm pleased, delighted to welcome my sister. When I say my sister, what does it mean? I'm an Nkrumah. You're an Nkrumah. Please help me welcome Samia Nkrumah, the daughter of the one and only Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Yes, and thank you for what you are doing.
Oh, thank you. The first thing I wanted to, what went into selecting these colors? I just want to know, because I don't want to.
It's just maybe the sun, the air. But I have a good friend who's actually, I think, a talented designer. And just love her work. And
these colors are
mix and match and
justice to you. And the first thing that I want to ask, I've spoken to you many times. When we talk about your father, I think for the most part, you refer to him as Kwame Nkrumah instead of my father. Why is that?
Well, to start with, I'm an Nkrumah'S really by conviction, not by birth only. The incidence of my birth is important, of course. And it's made me question so many things. But it's studying Kwame Nkrumah, his writings, his policies, his work, really, examining his work. That is what made me a follower of him. So when I refer to him as, my leader, my mentor, or my teacher, then it's Kwame Nkrumah. But of course, there's the other side, the father, the family man. Yes.
Do you feel like, do you get jealous sometime when you have to share him? Because my father is mine and my brother's, but you have to share yours with the whole world.
Absolutely. And I think we understood that very early in life. Absolutely. Kwame Nkrumah is the father of all. And I think it's really a privilege. It's a privilege to be associated with such a great, sincere, hard-working leader. A true Pan-Africanist, a leader who put his work above his personal comfort and security. And that's a great lesson. And I believe it's because of that that his name has endured even more and more.
We live on a continent where if your father is great like that, it is almost by default that he left a room full of money for you. I mean, you're the daughter of Kwame Nkrumah. You should not ever have to worry about money again for the rest of your life.
Yes, I mean, of course, we are laughing because we know the truth. And in actual fact, I mean, that is perhaps why he stands out, and that's why I have so much respect for him, because he chose deliberately, strategically. It was a choice. He chose not to amass wealth. It was a very conscious decision. And I want to tell you just one story, true life story, which exemplifies this. Now, I was born in a beautiful part of Ghana, just outside Accra today. At the time, it was part of Accra, Aburi Hills.
Aburi Hills.
Specifically, Pedwasi Lodge.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that's my birthplace.
Your birthplace is Pedwasi Lodge.
Yes, which is now a presidential retreat place, a place where we receive our dignitaries.
Where was I
Where were you born?
After Pedwasi Lodge. How can I even say where I
was
born? But go ahead.
Okay, but the story of that place is what? I mean, the land was given to Kwame Nkrumah, and he started building a little house, a place for him.
Okay.
And several women of his party, strong women with some capacity, had started helping him
Okay.
financially to build it. Mother used to love that place because of the cool air. It's on top of a hill, as you know. And so she would go there frequently. So anyway, I was born there and everything.
Okay.
In a particular year, 1960 year, we became a republic. And the Queen is no longer our Queen of England, no longer our head of state, you know. So it was significant in many respects. But our father decided to give this house to the state.
So Peduase Lodge
Yes.
was a land that was given to your
Yes.
father personally.
Yes.
But after he built it,
Yes. Yes.
he decided.
Yes. Over the years, it was expanded a bit, but basically, he wanted it to be a state house, a place where we receive dignitaries from all over the world, and that's what it is today.
So
now,
yes,
but let me complete the interesting bit about this story. So, according to Mother, now, soon after that announcement, a delegation of very strong women come to see him.
Okay.
They demand to see him, and they are angry, furious, in fact. They gain audience, and then, since many of them started the independence struggle with him, they can speak freely to him. Yes, he's the president, but he's also a comrade and a fellow activist. And one of them, the leader, starts and says, "Kwame, you're a bad man. You made us pay taxes to the state. We were helping you build this place so that you can retire or take vacations with your family to relax. You worked so hard. We wanted to help you.
We wanted to be yours.
Now you are giving it to the state. Had we known, we would not have contributed."
Wow.
And Father says father was laughing. You know, he was very patient with them. He let them express their grievances, and then he took time patiently to explain to them why he had to do that, why he had to lead by example and even go to the extremes to show that as a leader, he had to make certain sacrifices. Because he said at a time when he'd had to call out, he'd had to compel some of his very close ministers to resign because of corruption. So he said he had to lead by example. If he didn't do this, it would have been harder for him to clamp down on his close associates.
Wow.
And some ministers, some who started the struggle with him, but he had to ask them to resign. So he said he took his time to explain to them. By the end, they understood. He made a decision not only not to amass wealth, but not to own property.
Okay, so then...
And he wanted us to also understand what most people go through. So today, understand what working families and people go through. I understand what it means to not to be able to make ends meet, to reach the end of the month and you are anxious. You know, we understand it all. I've had to work in London while I was studying. For almost 10 years, I was working and studying.
The daughter of Kwame Nkrumah.
Indeed. But that was a great inheritance, because nothing taught me more than that experience why it's important to have social justice, economic justice in our countries, you know?
So, okay. The direction is people take from the state and make it their own. You're telling me that your father did the reverse, something that was given to him personally. He turned around and gave it to the state as what is now Peduasi Lodge, where world leaders come.
Absolutely. It serves the purpose
Yes.
he intended it.
Wow.
Intended it.
And
to
some
serve.
will say that, well, maybe that's just one. How about he must have left you guys 5 houses each or something?
Yes. And everybody knows now, after the charges that he, against him immediately after the illegal overthrow of his government, that he amassed wealth here and there. Now, I think everybody can see. No bank accounts anywhere in the world, no property, no nothing. Even like we are saying, the presents that were given. And Mother told us many, many stories. The presents that were given to them, he would insist that they give it back to the state. So, and it's, as I'm saying, it was a conscious decision.
Yeah.
This is what is important about it,
Yeah.
you see.
Yeah.
It was a conscious decision to the extent that she used to tell him, especially after one of the serious attempts on his life, the Kolungugu bombing in northern Ghana, where a little girl was giving him a bouquet of flowers and that exploded, and his bodyguards pushed him on the ground, and he was hospitalized because too much shrapnel had entered his back.
Wow.
And when he came out telling her he's afraid he might not live long because of all the lead that went into his system. And Mother was saying to her, how am I going to live? I'm a young woman and you have these young kids. What are we going to do? And he said,
without any...
yes, you don't allow us to keep anything.
Yeah.
And he told her, no, she must not worry. Either government will look after us or the party. So he knew what he was doing. The point I'm trying to make is he knew what it was doing. It was part of his leadership decisions, and it is the legacy he left us. And that's a very high standard to match
these days.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it also indicates that's a quality and type of leadership at the time. Because to be able to overturn a system, the colonial system, to navigate and maneuver to get us to have our national independence. Yes, it took decades, but it also took sacrifice and the kind of leadership that managed to finally deliver that to us was a leadership that put the interests of the people ahead of our personal interests.
So you were young when your father was overthrown. I think you were, what, 6?
Yes, I was almost 6, not yet even 6.
And then he had to go to exile?
Yes, and he called it not exile because he would say that he's at home on any part of the continent.
Very good. Okay, so to him it wasn't an exile.
It wasn't an
exile. But it's okay. And so how much of all these, I know you've just told us about the sacrifice, the teachings of sacrifice. But at the time, did you understand what he meant with his Pan-Africanist vision?
I didn't understand it, but the incidence of my birth itself, the Pan-African marriage of our parents, went a long way to making a contribution to getting North Africa much closer to the rest of the continent. So his personal life and choices were interlinked with his political beliefs and vision. So that marriage itself was a political decision. It was a fruit of the friendship and collaboration between the former president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, and our father. And as a result of that, Egypt and the whole of North Africa, for that matter, played a very important role in helping liberation movements throughout the decades.
Okay, so when you are Pan-African, like I am, I'll proudly say that. And back in 1989, when I met, who's now my wife, who's from Nigeria, I think the last thing I thought about was, oh, I want to marry her so I can boost up my Pan-African credentials. Was your father's marriage a strategic one or out of love?
Look, we used to tease our mother all the time. It was certainly an arranged political marriage.
Okay.
Because they didn't know each other.
Ah, okay.
You see, they only met to get married, basically.
Okay.
So it was a political marriage.
Okay.
But it worked. They had things in common.
Okay.
And their meeting was arranged.
Okay.
If they had made a decision not to go ahead, they would not have been married. So meeting each other, they decided, I mean, they liked each other and they decided to get married.
Okay.
So it was, so you could say it was an arranged marriage that blossomed into something much bigger.
Okay.
Indeed, it couldn't have been easy for our mother, who was a bit younger.
Okay.
I would say much younger than him.
Okay, so
but yeah, so it was an arranged political marriage
but
that
clearly
succeeded.
they grew
It
up
worked.
to love each other.
And admittedly, they only, yes, indeed, they respected each other, and mother remained loyal throughout.
Okay.
Don't forget, they only stayed together for 8 years.
Right.
Mother was beautiful, young. She never remarried. And it took me years to understand the sacrifice she made to further and protect the legacy.
So she must have
Nkrumah.
visited him when she was
No,
when he was in Guinea.
No, when we went to Cairo, Egypt, to live there, and he went to Guinea, and 6 years later he passed on. So it wasn't such a long time in the years of struggle, you know.
So you didn't see him throughout that time?
We didn't meet after the illegal overthrow, no.
Wow.
So that, yes, that was tough, particularly for mother.
Okay.
But this is how it is, you know.
Yeah.
Those were the years, they were turbulent years, you know. They were the post-independence years, the years when, you know, we were battling. We are still battling with the same challenges, but, you know, leaders who tried to pursue with their countries an independent economic path were targeted, obviously.
So before we go on a quick break, what prevented you and your mother and your brothers from visiting?
Okay, what was told to us, and it made a lot of sense, it was that it was dangerous or not safe for him to come, to move, to travel, and the same for us. It was not safe for us to go. Don't forget, he was a wanted man. I know that sounds scandalous now, but he was a wanted man by the military regime that overthrew his government. There was even a price on his head.
Oh my goodness.
So, yes, so things were not, you know, things were very difficult, and yes, everyone deemed it safer if we stayed in where we were.
We're going to go on a quick break, but I just heard this, and I have to admit, wherever you are during this pandemic era where the planes are not flying, when nobody's traveling from one country to another, and you think your situation is bad, I want you to just pay attention to what you just said. 6 years you didn't get to see your father before his passing. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back. My name is Jarmaine Nkrumah. You are still on Diaspora Network Television, and the show is Diaspora Weekly, and we're joined by Samia Nkrumah, the only daughter of Sajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, my hero. Before we get to the next question, I want you to know that specialized product, specialized water. I just took a sip now. Great stuff. Get some, and you would love it. You have had the chance to read about your father. You were 12 when you unfortunately lost your father. I couldn't even imagine what it was like, but you've had a chance to read about all his teachings. What have you learned?
Yes, I should say a great deal, huh? And like his literally executor used to say that Kwame Nkrumah was a maker and writer of history.
Okay.
I mean, we are so fortunate that he wrote copiously. So everything he was thinking politically for us, Ghana, Africa, Africans everywhere, he put it in writing. So we are very fortunate. I'm so happy that is how he was, you know, a man who wrote a lot.
Okay.
And of course, we've learned everything because he's given us the vision. You know, his definition of Pan-Africanism was what? That it was the total liberation and unification of Africa. So freedom in all its forms, economic, political, cultural, and our unification. And what I understood is that the national liberation, political independence, was just the first step of our full freedom.
Okay.
It was the first step that would give us the control, the freedom to decide to manage our affairs in a way that would suit us and our people.
Okay.
So,
are you politically aligned or philosophically aligned with your father?
Indeed, and it didn't happen overnight.
Okay.
You know, it took me years. I had to question many things. And of course, with the passage of time also, you always ask yourself, is this still relevant? Is that still relevant? But the more time passes, the more I realize that, you know, that message for freedom and unity for Africans is as relevant today as it was
even
then.
Probably more so.
Thank you, Jarmaine. Probably more so. Because the longer we wait, you know, the harder it will be for us to somehow, you know, just get rid of the shackles around us. Now, with our colonization came our balkanization. You know, we were not these small units at all.
Yes.
Obviously. But those were done deliberately, arbitrarily, but the intention was not just for it to be easier to control and exploit us, but also for us to be weaker. Yeah? So we emerged as independent African states at different times. Weakened. And Pan-African leaders like Kwame Nkrumah and others, they understood immediately that our full freedom, including economic freedom, is directly related to how united we are.
We are. You know,
so unity is not a sentimental dream.
Yeah.
It's not just, you know, hungering to a past, but it is actually for our very economic survival.
You know, interestingly, I'm interviewing the second generation diasporans. I call it the spotlight on diaspora.
Okay.
And I've interviewed a young man of Sierra Leonean descent in Houston. I partnered him with the Ghanaian lady in London, and I did one young man in Winnipeg and partnered him with a young lady in Brussels, and I'm continuing to do that. When I speak to these young people, they did not know about your father.
Yes.
But if I ask them what is the most important thing, unity.
Brilliant.
African unity.
Excellent.
If our second generation in the diaspora is talking about African unity, what are we doing here?
Yes. Yes.
You know, and so it becomes very, very important for Pan-Africanism today. It's not negotiable. But I want to ask you, when you look around, when you scan the world today and you look at political figures, either on the continent or in the diaspora, everybody who has the brown skin, who exemplifies your father's vision the most?
You see, I really hate to talk about personalities as such, because I think it's more important for us to focus on policies.
Okay.
You see, it is incumbent on us to have Pan-African leaders,
Right.
to be able to achieve that unity we aspire to.
Right.
Because ultimately, as Kwame Nkrumah reminded us, it will be a political decision. You see?
Yeah.
That is why the original concept of unity was not just economic integration, no, but political unification. Because it's that political unity that will speed up economic integration. There are many important economic decisions that can only be taken from a political
Okay.
perspective. Even the decision to have a common market, to have a common currency, it's a political decision.
Yeah. So do you
So you
think...
can't take the political out of
Out
the
of
unity aspect.
Right.
And this is a mistake we've been making. This is what we've been shelving, you know. So we sit and talk about unity, but we are not talking about unity of African states, political unity.
Okay.
That will smooth things up. Okay. So the real hindrance, the reason for the delay is because we are not sitting down to see how we can unite politically.
Okay, so then let me ask you this. If I'm the president of Angola, I'm king. I'm worshipped. This whole territory is mine. Why should I give that up to become part of a bigger...
Wonderful question. If I were a leader of a country, I would be ready to give up that a little part of our sovereignty for the sake of delivering to my people a higher quality of life.
That's a higher calling.
A better,
yes.
A better standard of living.
Yes.
You know, because why are we talking about unity?
Yeah.
It is for our people. Like we were saying, it's not a sentimental decision. We want to eradicate poverty. We want every African child to have the opportunity to study till the maximum, they reach the highest potential. No African child, because of lack of money, should stop their education. We want to make sure diseases that are perfectly curable, like malaria, should disappear.
Yeah.
So, and you need, what do you need? We keep on saying we need capital to industrialize. We need resources to get rid of this and that. Now we will have those resources if we integrate, if we work together, if we plan economically together. We will have those resources. At the moment, every African country has to pay so much to get loans. We are paying so much to service our loans. Now, if we borrowed as a bulk, as a big continent, we will borrow much more cheaply. And you know what? Yeah, I mean, we will go up in the, we will not be so risky, considered risky, states or units.
Yeah.
So we will be able to borrow, to manufacture, to industrialize on a scale that will definitely change our destinies forever. So if I were a leader, I would, since my first aim is to deliver for my people, I would go for that option.
But that's your father, though. Your father was concentrated. He was focused on delivering for his people. Can you say that? Or let me rephrase it. In Africa today, the leadership, and I know you study them, you've seen them all, including even people from the diaspora. There's got to be that someone who, when you see that person, say, it reminds me of my father. Have you come across?
There are various leaders in different, not just the you see, sometimes we think leadership is just amongst politicians. Yeah, but leadership is the product of the political establishment. So we need to do something about our political establishment in Africa.
Okay.
How does it assume that role?
Okay.
How do politicians become leaders? What is at play?
Okay.
You see, is big money the main factor? Then of course you will lose something in the leadership selection.
Okay.
You know? Because leaders have to emerge from the people with the aspirations, representing the aspirations of the people, not the aspirations of a few powerful units or forces. So we have some homework to do, you know, because we fashion our political establishment. We make it. And there is something called popular determination. But I know that it seems like it will take time, but the change comes in the twinkling of an eye. You see, very often you work for decades towards something, and a small catalyst puts everything in place. So all of us must be ready. You see, this is the responsibility of all Africans.
Not just the leaders.
Not just the leaders. We must be ready, conscientizing ourselves, preparing ourselves for that African unity that will be, it's the most important thing that could happen to Africans in the 21st century.
It's unity.
Last century was independence.
Right,
this
but
unity,
now it's unity.
It's unity.
So look at the African Organization of African Unity, OAU, 1963.
Yes.
And look at African Union today, headed by Faki Mahamat from Chad, a francophone country. And then you have the former African Union ambassador to United States, Her Excellency Arikana Chiombo-Ikwa. She starts talking about the injustices that France has been meting on the francophone countries, money that is supposed to, a whole lot of injustices. She starts talking about it, and then instantly Faki Mahamat from Chad, whose country stands to benefit if France does the right thing, she rather terminates her contract. Am I missing something? Would your father terminate someone speaking like that?
We know the answer to that. Yes, we know that. And indeed, yes, we've all followed. We are all behind our sister, Dr. Kwao, and we know, and we know how we felt actually when she made those statements, and how it speaks to many of us. And these are just the exact things we must tackle in the years to come. This is how we must complete our economic independence. But you see, Kwame Nkrumah warned us that it will be very difficult for us to do it separately. We have to speak with one voice. You see, so we have to conscientize ourselves in our individual countries and states. Our education must have a Pan-African component. Our schools, our homes, our elections must deal with this matter. It must become the focus of our elections and debates. Because that is the solution for Africa.
For Africa.
And Africans everywhere. Africans even in the African global family, in the States. African lives matter, Black lives matter. So whatever happens to Black people anywhere in the world has a bearing on what happens in Africa. And if in the continent, the mother continent, because that's the home of every African. If things are chaotic, if we are not strong, it impacts on Africans outside the continent.
We're going to go on a quick break, but before we do, quickly, on this line of thought, why do you think the 50-something leaders, country, presidents, heads of state, did not lean on Faki and say, no, call her back in about 30 seconds? Why do you think they didn't do that?
I recall Kwame Nkrumah standing 63 saying, it is courage we lack. We have the resources, we have the men and women, it is courage we lack.
We'll be right back. The 53 leaders did not stand up for our sister, Dr. Arikana Chiombo-Ikwa, when she was speaking for us and was illegally terminated. And the reason for that, as you heard from the daughter of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, courage. Do we have courage? We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back. The show is Diaspora Weekly. It's Pan-African time, so if you're not, I wish I had a hat where I can put it on that say, somebody is saying make America great again. Make Africa great for the first time. Madagascar just had what appears to be a very good cure for COVID-19.
News.
World Health Organization says, oh no, we think it's not good enough. Here again, they're not looking at the medication. They're looking at this. You're not good enough to come up with something that's good enough for the rest of the world. Tanzania, Nigeria, Guinea, a host of a few countries have said, you know what? In fact, I came up with this term, who needs who? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Who needs World Health Organization? Who needs who? If they if who is not going to sanction it, okay, we will use it here. Absolutely. And so far, some countries, we have the men and women to be able to test it and see that it's good. And so far, they've started using it. How does it make you feel? Do you now see that your father's vision is starting to take hold?
Yes, indeed, and kudos to Madagascar and every African country must use that cure, herbal cure. You see,
first test it, and if it meets
it, and then use it.
Okay.
And I have no doubt that it will be good.
Yeah.
I believe that even right here in Ghana at home, I am sure our herbalists have also some very effective treatment and preventive concoctions. But we need to promote it, test it, refine it, and use it. We really need to push with our traditional and herbal medicines. Okay. Definitely. God has given us
everything.
Thick vegetation, wonderful, trees and plants. I'm pretty sure that if we invest in that, we will be able to address.
I said we're going to come back to Ghana, and we will. But I want to touch on the continental stuff for this last thing. Yeah. Congolese student killed in Ukraine. And the Ghanaian Africans in Ukraine said, well, this thing happens all the time. Nothing is going to come out of it. A Nigerian professor killed in India. Nobody cares. Africans in Guangzhou, China, they just victimized. All of a sudden, the disease that came from China, they're trying to make it like it came from them. And then we know what's happening in America. Ahmed Arbery, just shot 2 years ago in Georgia. If it wasn't a video that surfaced now, that would have been swept under the rug. So when you look at globally, black lives don't matter. What do we do about it?
We unite. We unite. You see, the first point of call, and here I mean, this is a mission for our generation, Jarmaine. This is what we have to work towards achieving. A unified stand, a unified position on international issues, a unified army, strong Pan-African army, unified economic plan to help us develop and quickly, and we can do it. There is nothing stopping us but our choices. Okay. So this is the mission for this generation and the one coming behind us. But what are the
pitfalls? Because word has it, and we don't know the facts, but word has it that your father's overthrow was sponsored by the CIA.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed, okay.
It is a fact that declassified documents are shedding more and more light. Okay. And not just him, but yes, many other leaders.
Back then, if they were arduously against African unity to the extent of overthrowing, we know what France is doing in the Francophone countries. The moment you start asking questions, there's either an assassination or a coup d'etat, or your opponent mysteriously wins the election. And now we know they are more aggressive. And now China is in the game. They want stuff in here. So now you got China, you got Europe, who depends on our resources. What if it was difficult for your father? Is it more difficult now for the leaders to stand up to?
Very good question. And look, you see, there's always a movement. Sometimes takes time before its work bears fruit. Now, and of course, along the way, some people, particularly the pioneers, they sacrifice even their lives for that. So we have to look at it in that way. You see, especially the earliest ones, the first ones to speak out, to challenge. Yes, they are at the forefront.
Okay.
So they go. So we come up.
Okay.
Now, we have some very good advantages here. One of them is a huge, in Africa, I mean, amongst Africans, the huge youthful population.
Okay.
Now, youth means dynamism.
Yes.
It means adventure.
Yes.
It means courage.
Right.
There are things you can do when you are young, which when you are older, you are scared of doing. So we can marshal that youthful exuberance and strength to turn things around.
Because it's their future.
Absolutely.
The rest of us who live 20, 30 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, yes, absolutely. So, but we have to make our contribution now for them. You see, everything happens now. So it's what we think now, what our youth are thinking now that matters. You know, Kwame Nkrumah used to say that before, standing right behind a social revolution is an intellectual revolution. We are not talking about picking up arms necessarily. No, thank God we have technology. We have now mind is the power. In this age, it's your thinking,
repeat that
your
again.
Consciousness.
Wait, standing behind
a social revolution is an intellectual
revolution.
So your consciousness, your understanding, that's your strength. Your mind is your strength.
And then who said the mind is a terrible thing to waste? Is it Malcolm X?
I can't remember, but you're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's all in the mind.
So what is the African thinking right now? This is what matters.
Yes.
You see?
And so
this is what I'm thinking.
Upon that note,
I'm not defeated.
Yes.
I'm not discouraged.
Okay.
You know, I am hopeful and I'm optimistic.
And we're going to
do it. And I will persevere. If the African mind understands that, then there's nothing we can fear. You see, what happened. Our pioneers sacrificed their life. This was their contribution to us. Now we have it. We are holding the baby. What are we going to do with it? You see, because I too want to leave something to my son and daughters.
That's of value.
You know? And I also want, when I go there and meet our ancestors, I don't want to say I've done nothing. You know? I want to proudly say that I've done something. What are we going to tell them if we don't make our contribution? So the time is now, and it begins with our minds. And you know what? From what you're saying, the people are ready.
I think so.
We just have to spread the word. And it's like I'm saying, it has to be in our politics, it has to be in our education.
Okay. Let me bring you back to Ghana. So that, another 100 years from now, when you finally leave this earth, then you can report this to your father. Your father's party, the CPP, Conventions People's Party, it has struggled to gain traction to the extent that now in Ghana, the two main political parties are New Patriotic Party and National Democratic Congress, NPP and DC. It looks like that's going to go on for a while. Which of these two parties would you trust to pursue that which your father stood for?
Okay. You see, the strength is with the people.
Okay.
You see, I don't look at parties in a straightforward way. Because I always see the political establishment and the people,
Okay.
irrespective of party.
Okay.
And my political activity is even somehow confirming this view that, or that perspective that I'm holding. So we are talking about the political establishment and the people, and the people are from different political parties. Now, the fact in Ghana is Kwame Nkrumah's time and his government, they were pursuing an independent economic path. I mean, they were really getting out of the colonial fold and giving us, laying the foundation for that independent, self-reliant economic path. With his exit, with the overthrow of his government, everything was reversed back.
Okay.
So we talk about this current situation as the new colonial situation.
Okay.
We are not free, completely free. We
No.
don't make
No, no, no.
decisions. We are, and that is why we are suffering.
Yeah.
Because the decisions that are made for us are not really in the interest of our people.
Yeah.
They're in the interest of a very few, even in the world.
Okay.
You know, I have lived in different parts of the world. I've studied in Ghana, in Egypt, and in other places in Europe. And I do know that there are some, many actually, I would dare say even the majority of people in different countries, even in the north of the world, who hold progressive ideas, who are not comfortable seeing Africans suffer.
Yeah.
That is not
Yeah.
their wish. You see? So that struggle is a struggle for humanity. It's not just for Africa. The African unity struggle, because that unity is what will enable us have the power to change the state of affairs, to change the global economic system so that we are no longer victims of it. You know?
Or dependent on their resources.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, but that struggle involves everybody. It cuts across parties.
Yeah.
It cuts across races, I would dare say. You see?
If you teach someone how to fish, they don't have to come ask you for fish again. Do you think these people like it when we're constantly going there, cup in hand, begging for loans and everything? It's in their interest if we fix it where we're now self-sufficient.
Yes, yes. I mean, look at just one example. You know, that the migration.
Yeah.
Look Africans leaving.
Yes.
Look at that. So it spills over everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, anywhere in the world where there's problems, it will spill over.
Okay.
We have one
coronavirus.
Word. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
What better example than that? Yes.
So now it comes down to you.
Yes, so we have to internationalize this struggle about African unity.
So now it's the Pan-Africanism has taken so much time. Now I want to talk about you.
Okay, right.
What are you doing?
It's inseparable, by the way.
It's actually inseparable because you're the symbol now.
Yes.
And it's good to know that you're also aligned philosophically with your father.
Absolutely.
So now politically, what's in store for you?
I plan to contest to re-enter Parliament because we have to be part of the system. Nkrumahs must have a strong voice within our political system because that's one way of changing things. So we have to go for that. You know, Kwame Nkrumah said, "Seek ye first," paraphrasing the Bible, "Seek ye first the political kingdom, and all other things shall follow." But very often the solution is political.
Right.
So we have to keep on going for political power. It will never be given to you. You have to go for it. So
Samia Nkrumah is running for Parliament in what constituency?
Yeah, in my old constituency,
Jomoro.
the Jomoro, in the furthest point west and south of our country.
Okay.
In fact,
I'm going to ask you a difficult question.
Please go ahead.
When you enter Parliament,
yes,
you have Pan-Africanism as one agenda. And your people also looking up to you, your people in Jomoro looking up to you for development within that area.
Absolutely.
Take 100%. You have two things, what percentage would you give to the Pan-African agenda, and what percentage would you give to your peoples?
Yeah, but you see, they are inseparable.
Okay.
You see, and this is the understanding we need to acquire.
Okay.
They are inseparable.
Okay.
You see, if Ghana worked with Togo, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, things will be easier for our people, even in the remotest parts of the world.
Okay.
You see, if we work a few countries on, say, controlling the production of cocoa, and then not controlling the production and adding value to our production, it will be better for our people in the cocoa growing areas. It will be better for the farmers, better for the communities. So it's inseparable. We have to understand that the main benefits for unity are economic, and then cultural and spiritual.
But would your people understand that? Because it looks like when you, and I agree with you, by the way, if you push the Pan-African agenda and things start working well, it will eventually spill down that the man in Newtown, in your constituency, will benefit. The question is, would they have the patience, or would they have the understanding that, okay, we will wait for our leader from the constituency to push this agenda, eventually it will come back to us?
Yes, I will tell you how they will wait. One, with an educational campaign explaining things clearly, but also with good governance. You see, there are certain things that you cannot hide. One of them is good governance.
Yeah.
You see, you can easily spot when things are transparent, when people understand where money is going and see it. You can see it and understand it. You see? In fact, very often when people ask, oh, how did Kwame Nkrumah manage to do it? He managed to do it because, you know, he forced morality into politics.
Okay.
You know, he made himself chairman of the Volta River scheme, the whole project, which entailed dozens of contracts. He didn't make a pesewa out of those. He had this house built, which today is the guest house there for dignitaries. You can, from it, on top of it, you can see the whole project. Apparently, he used to be there overseeing the whole, the construction, the pace of construction. Now that project was finished a year in advance, ahead of schedule, 20% under budget.
And so when you say that, right, the president of the country makes himself the chairman of the, and this is one of those really tricky questions. And you factor in the, you know, the one-party state and all those things. Have you looked at some of these things and say, you know what, on this area, maybe I didn't understand him very well. On this area, maybe he could have done something different. Yes.
Indeed, I have. But the beauty, that's what I say, the beauty about Kwame Nkrumah is that he wrote.
Okay.
In fact, Mother said in the middle of the night, she'll wake up and she'll see the light in his office, he'll be writing. Now, he explained all that thoroughly. Now, the one-party state was the done thing at the time. Because look around the African countries. Nyerere, Houphouët Boigny, these were all long-serving leaders. So it wasn't peculiar to Ghana. That was the done thing in post-independence countries, because there was so much to do. And the contention, the conflict of multi-party or two-party state was so great that it's, you know, the tension was horrendous. And some countries, they just wanted to get on to reach a certain level of development. The second point, and again, that's Kwame Nkrumah speaking about the one-party state. And what he said is this, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact quote, but he's saying that a one-party state can only succeed if the country is truly liberated and under a government with a socialist-oriented policies or program. Under a new colonial state, or a state that's dominated by outside economically, it would be a total disaster. And that's why we are not calling for it now. But so what is he exactly saying? You see, if a state is trying to implement economic and social justice, then the focus will be the people's welfare, the people's well-being, people-centered programs.
So the one-party state was a temporary thing?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
To meet the needs of the people in the shortest possible time.
Okay.
It must be understood, because that was the program. There was a specific program that depended on some economic plans, and that was people-centered, free and compulsory education, manufacturing, producing everything we have. Once we would reach a certain level, then it would be easy to have the luxury of competing on ideas. But then let's look at us today. We have, to all intents and purposes, a two-party state. They are smaller parties, but they are not playing a role in changing policies. Now we have two parties, but the direction of the economy is the same, essentially the same.
Okay.
I'm not saying the personalities are the same. You see, in every party, you have good people and not so good people. But the most important thing, the independent economy, we have not moved into that direction yet.
We're going to close up, but when you say along this one-party thing, China just made Xi Jinping pretty much the lifelong leader.
Yes.
When you look at how they have moved recently, they've grown exponentially.
Absolutely.
So is that the same thing that your father was looking at the time?
Yes, but it has to be the will of the
people.
Okay. You see, and that's why even these measures that Nkrumah ended up choosing were done through referendum, through, through also in parliament. They were all approved by parliament. So the will of there has to be a measure of debate. There has to be a measure of examination, because the most important thing is that the people must be in tune with it.
Finally, where do you see?
Politics is for the people.
Okay.
You see?
This is 2020.
Yes.
Where do you see Africa and Pan-Africanism in 2030?
Well, that depends on how hard you and I and the younger generation are going to work.
That's right.
You see, the vision is there. We know where we want to go. Now, what is missing? Now, it's our commitment, our now. What is going through our minds right now? We have the vision. We know where we need to go, a united Africa, where we can do big, big things together. We have the strong youthful population, the energy which will take us there, But what we need is right now, what we are thinking and what we are doing.
Okay.
And that if we follow what is in our hearts, because I know in the heart of every African is a desire to live a dignified life. We are ready to fight, and I don't mean physical, with our heads, with our intelligence, with our minds, with our energy. We are ready to fight for a united and prosperous society. We are ready.
You got it from here. This has been a fascinating conversation. If you believe in African unity, and if you believe in Pan-Africanism, I'm sure you had a great time as I did. We were blessed with having with us my sister, because we share, she's Samia, I'm Jarmaine, but we both share Nkrumah. And I wish we were, many people ask me, are you related? And sometimes it's so tempting to say, oh yeah, that's my grandfather. But you know what? We're related. I'll use that. We're related in spirit.
Yeah.
Thank you. This has been Diaspora Weekly. My name has been Jarmaine. We were sponsored by Specialized Product. Got water, got some very great apple and all kinds of drinks. Contribute to, patronize to Specialized, and you'll be glad you did. My name is Jarmaine Nkrumah. Help me thank Samia Nkrumah for joining me for this fascinating conversation.
Pleasure. Yes, thank you. It's been my pleasure, really, yes.
And stay tuned for some more of our programming. Thank you for watching.